Non-Qualified Evangelist, Episode 5. Thank you for watching. Okay, so previously on the NQE, murderous, self-seeking men, these guys, they dominate. And they also get spread out throughout the entire world. Abram and Sarai are introduced into the story. Abram, this guy, forget about it. He is a believer. God gets him paid in a very sort of non-conventional way. God promises to Abram, he says, listen, this land I'm sending you to, this is going to be for you, and this land is going to be for your descendants forever. You understand? In this particular episode, we are covering chapters 13 through 15. Chill, relax. Let's get back into it. God, this is your word. We will need your help to understand it.
Genesis chapter 13. So Abram went up from Egypt, he with his wife and all that was his, and Lot with him, to the south. Now Abram was very laden with livestock, silver and gold. He proceeded on his journeys from the south to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at first, between Bethel and Ai, to the site of the altar which he had erected there at first. And there Abram invoked Hashem by name. Also Lot, who went with Abram, had flocks, cattle, and tents. And the land could not support them dwelling together, for their possessions were abundant, and they were unable to dwell together. And there was quarreling between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite were then dwelling in the land. So Abraham said to Lot, please, let there be no strife between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not all the land before you? Please, separate from me. If you go left, then I will go right. And if you go right, then I will go left. So Lot raised his eyes and saw the entire plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Hashem destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Hashem, like the land of Egypt, going toward Zoar. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed from the east. Thus they parted, one from his brother. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, while Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched tents as far as Sodom. Now, the people of Sodom were wicked and sinful toward Hashem, exceedingly. Hashem said to Abram, after Lot had parted from him, raise now your eyes and look out from where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land that you see, to you will I give it, and to your descendants forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring too can be counted. Arise, walk about the land through its length and breadth, for to you will I give it. And Abram moved his tent, and came and dwelled in the plains of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and he built there an altar to Hashem. Genesis chapter 14. And it happened in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, that these made war on Bela, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Seboim, and the king of Bela, which is Soar. All these had joined at the valley of Siddim, now the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and they rebelled 13 years. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and struck the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Susam and Ham, the Emim and Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountains of Seir, as far as the plain of Paran, which is by the desert. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh. They struck all along the territory of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwell in Hasason Tamar. And the king of Sodom went forth with the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Seboim, and the king of Bela, which is Soar, and engaged them in battle in the valley of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. The valley of Siddim was full of bitumen wells. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell into them, while the rest fled to a mountain. They seized all the wealth of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and they departed. And they captured Lot and his possessions, Abram's nephew, and they left, for he was residing in Sodom. Then there came the fugitive and told Abram, the Ivri, who dwelt in the plains of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, these being Abram's allies. And when Abram heard that his kinsman was taken captive, he armed his disciples who had been born in his house, 318, and he pursued them as far as Dan. And he with his servants deployed against them at night and struck them. He pursued them as far as Hobah, which is to the north of Damascus. He brought back all the possessions. He also brought back his kinsman, Lot, with his possessions, as well as the women and the people. The king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, to the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's valley. But Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God, the Most High. He blessed him, saying, Blessed is Abram of God, the Most High, maker of heaven and earth, and blessed is God, the Most High, who has delivered your foes into your hand. And he gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and take the possessions for yourself. Abram said to the king of Sodom, I lift up my hand to Hashem, God, the Most High, maker of heaven and earth. If so much as a thread to a shoestrap, or if I shall take anything from yours, so you shall not say, It is I who made Abram rich. Far from me, only what the young men have eaten, and the share of the men who accompanied me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. They will take their portion. Genesis chapter 15. After these events, the word of Hashem came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am a shield for you. Your reward is very great. And Abram said, My Lord, Hashem Elohim, what can you give me, seeing that I go childless? And the steward of my house is the Damascene, Eliezer. Then Abram said, See, to me you have given no offspring, and see, my steward inherits me. Suddenly the word of Hashem came to him, saying, That one will not inherit you. Only him that shall come forth from within you shall inherit you. And he took him outside, and he said, Gaze now toward the heavens, and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So shall your offspring be. And he trusted in Hashem, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. He said to him, I am Hashem, who brought you out of Kasdim to give you this land to inherit it. He said, My Lord, Hashem Elohim, whereby shall I know that I am to inherit it? And he said to him, Take to me 3 heifers, 3 goats, 3 rams, a turtle dove, and a young dove. He took all these to him. He cut them in the center and placed each piece opposite its counterpart. The birds, however, he did not cut up. Birds of prey descended upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it happened, as the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And behold, a dread, great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, Know with certainty that your offspring shall be aliens in a land not their own, and they will serve them, and they will oppress them 400 years. But also the nation that they will serve I shall judge, and afterwards they will leave with great wealth. As for you, you shall come to your ancestors in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age, and the 4th generation shall return here. For the iniquity of the Amorite shall not yet be full until then. So it happened. The sun set, and it was very dark. Behold, there was a smoky furnace and a torch of fire, which passed between these pieces. On that day Hashem made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your descendants have I given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates River, the Kenite, the Kenizzite, and the Cadmonite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Girgashite, and the Jebusite.
Non-Qualified Evangelist, Episode 5, Genesis 13 through 15. I am asking the question now. Who is Abram to have this kind of a blessing? Let's count it out. Abram is a man of wealth. He is a man of power. This is a man of influence. He's a man of God's favor. He and Lot have to split because the wealth is so much that they are starting to fight. They're already fighting with the Canaanites and the Perizzites. Now they're fighting among themselves. Abram's like, no, brother. You go that way, I go this way. What do you think? And it's because of the wealth. He gives 10% to the priest who stops him after the war. Melchizedek blesses him. Abram says, boom, here's 10%. Take it. The king of Sodom says, take the cash. I'm going to take the people. Abram says, so that there's no confusion as to where my wealth comes from. Here's a man of power, 318 people from his crew. They pack up. They are the ones who go and they pursue this coalition of evil. They hit him at night and then they go again and then they hit him again. This is a man who has an observance to whatever religious rituals exist at this time. He builds an altar to Hashem. This is not the first time that we've heard this. He invokes the name of Hashem. In the name of Hashem, it's personal for him. The word comes to Abram. Tells him, Abram, let me talk to you about the blessing that's happening. Your family's this is going to be something ugly for 400 years, but don't worry, they're going to come back. They're going to be wealthy. It's going to be great. He believes what is being said about what will happen. He trusts that it's going to happen. God says, for trusting in what I'm saying, here's what you get. You get righteousness. So what is righteousness? It is the part where you're like spiritually good and you have happiness and joy, all that, the things that are right. Wrongnessness is where you're like angry and you're evil and this guy, he's not doing some sort of a system. He's listening to God. Yeah, I'm going to be blessed. Got 400 years. Okay, got it. I believe you. Oh, you believe me? Boom, righteousness. Now, this is a fair deal. Some interesting things to consider. At this point, he has no kids. What he's saying he's going to get is the land and the kid. He has neither. He believes it anyway. Smoky furnace and the torch of fire. Let's talk about it for a second. We know this represents Hashem. We know it represents God. Torch of light for illumination, to lead the way. That makes sense. But the smoky furnace, what do you think? Heifer, a goat, a ram, a turtle dove, and a young dove. All in order. These are cut. These are not cut. This is all for the sacrifice God sets up for himself to ratify this covenant that he's going to provide this stuff to Abram. So let me do some housekeeping really quickly. Hashem in Hebrew literally means the name. Okay, so the letters of this word, Hashem, come from God's name. And God's name is, he was, and he will be. So because this name is never pronounced, they take letters of this name and from it, Hashem is created, and Hashem means the name. Elohim refers to God's power. So when Abram is calling on the name of Hashem, Elohim, speaking to him about these kids, he's calling on God's eternal power. This is it for the Non-Qualified Evangelist, episode 5.